head pinch. Turn over to mat 2 for that one. We're going to have Coleman, Scott, Kyle Hutter. Scott looking to make his way back on to the national team.
Next up on mat number 1, 61 kilos consolation semifinals. Sunkist Kids Wrestling Club. It's Coleman, Scott, Kyle Hutter, the Mercury Wrestling Club.
And we're underway here at 61 kilograms.
Not often that you see Coleman Scott on the backside of brackets. I mean, very, very few times do you see him.
And he will have an opportunity if he gets back to that third place spot. Kendrick Maple, Scott was upended by Daniel Dennis, who went on to win the challenge from in that last second score on Kendrick Maple.
So we could see a Coleman Scott Kendrick Maple match if Scott can battle through this backside.
Absolutely.
Good duck under by Coleman Scott. He's in on a leg right now. He comes out the back door, and he's going to finish this. No, he's not. Great scramble as Kyle Hutter's able to grab that far ankle, and we're in a good position here. Hutter now looking to come out the back door, and he grabs that wrist down on the ankle, trying to free his wrist, and we're going to get a stalemate here. Great scrambling as it looked like Coleman Scott had Kyle Hutter dead to rights.
And if, you know, one thing, some of the big news, Zeb Miller had an interview with Coleman Scott, and it, you know, Coleman was kind of tight about it. He's focused on this year at 61 kilograms. He's not going to be our world team representative. And when you're at 61 kilograms going into an Olympic year, you've got two ways to go. You either go up to 65, you go down to 57, and you had to be led by Coleman's reaction. He's looking at 57 kilograms.
And that would make things real interesting. Obviously, he'd have to change some things in his diet, lifestyle to make that cut down. And with C.D. Mock out at North Carolina State, or at North Carolina, you'd like to think that Coleman Scott's the next guy in.
And that's a big responsibility to take over a program and try to make an Olympic team in the same year.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was announced Josh Kindig to North Carolina with Coleman Scott.
Wow, so he's going to get Kindig in there, have a good guy in there to help him out as an assistant coach. So, you know, obviously if Coleman's going to make that sacrifice, he knows what kind of guys he's got to bring in to help him support his program to get more things to be met. I would say behind the scenes, maybe some things, paperwork, things like that, more business part of the job that's not really seen, because Coleman's obviously going to be in there training with his guys. But sometimes that helps guys, you know. And right as I'm talking, Coleman's got in on a great double leg, and he's looking for a gut wrench. And doesn't look like he's going to get a gut here.
And that's the thing. Coleman has not had the success since 2012, you know, that Olympic bronze medal. And you've seen flashes of it. It's just been some lapses in his game, but that that leg is still there. He's still explosive. And most of the time when he needs it,
but
he can get there.
You would think that if you're on that North Carolina team and you got Coleman Scott training to make an Olympic team, making a sacrifice down to 57 kilos, that gets you fired up if you're a North Carolina Tar Heel wrestler.
And absolutely. Think about the training opportunities those lighter weights have. You've got a guy in there that's going to be going live and training himself.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the focus is not going to be on folk style for Coleman, but just getting in there and wrestling with the guy, getting the feels from the ties and the snaps.
Yeah,
and some of that stuff translates very well. And there's other parts of the game that don't. But to see what it means to be an Olympian and the sacrifice, like you said.
And a lot of that stuff comes from, you know, you see your coach, your head coach, still doing it. That's saying, you know what, I can still do this. I can come in, do through these grueling workouts. I can make the sacrifice, cutting the weight, making the different changes in my lifestyle to do this if he's doing it. And you have an example prime in front of you. And so that'll be good for those Tar Heel wrestlers to be able to see Coleman Scott going through the training that they're going through, doing the exact same stuff that they're doing, if not even more. And a lot of talk's been about Coleman, but he's in a tight match here with Kyle Hutter. Hutter, an assistant coach over at Old Dominion with Coach Martin, and they're putting together a good squad there. Really tough kids coming out to Old Dominion.
Jordan Oliver closing in on that championship series final matchup with Metcalf. He leads 8-5 over on 2. Stieber looking for feet to back with 9 seconds to go. And one thing I like to see, the Open, it seemed as though Oliver was a little banged up with the knee, wasn't quite as aggressive. I want to see him come out and get after Metcalf in tonight's final. He came out, scored several times right away on Stieber. I want to see that in the Metcalf match tonight and let those two guys open up and fire away. That'll be exciting to watch.
And I know the fans are looking forward to that one. At 65 kilos, Oliver and Metcalf meet again. And here we got Kyle Hutter. He's put on the shot clock, and he trails Coleman Scott 2-1. And Coleman fires off, even though he's not on the shot clock. Fires off, gets that seatbelt position, and big throw, suplex from Coleman Scott, and he's going to get 4 confirmed. Wow, so he came behind, had that position where is behind him and is able to step out in front and able to come big 4 for Coleman Scott on the edge.
And you got to love the big grin on Hutter's face. No, I'm taking for a ride here. And in that shot clock situation, you're better off going for the big points because that step out point doesn't mean anything because you don't get the caution of the shot clock running out, so you actually take something away from your score by scoring the push out. So, you get to the edge. Scott elevates, pops him up. Big throw for 4.
And that gives Coleman Scott a little more breathing here. 30 ticks on the clock. Some good snaps. He's really got some of the best hand fighting. That overcollar tie is a great series. Check it out on Flow Technique Wave. I was watching that last week. Coleman Scott's overcollar series has some unbelievable attacks to that far ankle. He does a lot of stuff with that single leg from that overcollar. It's just absolutely insane. And there, as we're saying, he goes duck under. Everything Coleman Scott here in this match with Hutter as he goes up for the win 8-1 over Kyle Hutter, and he will move on to the backside.
And we also saw that outside elbow control from the far side. You go over tie on the left, and then he comes back outside elbow to that duck. That's where he got in position for that big 4-point throw.